Margaret Thatcher said, socialism's great until you run out of everyone else's money, other people's money.
Well, what Andrew Cuomo said is that if he had $959 million, he'd give it to Elon Musk in tax credits, because that's exactly what he did. And I bring that up to you to say that it's often a question of whether you have the willingness to spend that money to benefit working class people.
That was a pretty good response there to Martha MacCallum from Zohran Mamdani, who went into the fox's den or whatever. I thought that was a good response, bringing it back to Cuomo and the way that he has sold out New Yorkers to just hand over huge quantities of money to wealthy people. But I also think, I don't want to, he doesn't need tips from me, but if they tee you up with socialism is great until you run out of other people's money, I would say capitalism is great until you run out of the poor's money. Because all it is you steal their labor and then eventually you redistribute their wealth to yourself. You accumulate more and more and then realize that isn't actually a sustainable way to run an economy. But that said, I know Zohran Mamdani does not need to be taking on capitalism on Fox these days. Instead, he's content to take on Cuomo. That's the mission of the day, and I appreciate it. He did really well overall. In fact, he did so well that Fox host kind of complimented him even amidst his criticisms of Donald Trump. Take a look.
When I've spoken to Trump voters right here in New York City, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, they've told me it was cost of living that drove them to vote for Donald Trump. They've told me it was a promise of a lower actual, whether it be cheaper groceries, whether it be childcare, whether it be rent.
Right.
And what we're seeing time and time again is we're more focused on the question of billionaires and the most profitable corporations than we are on people who can't even afford to make ends meet in this city.
Well, we know affordability is an issue, and I think that all politicians are getting to an understanding of that, and I think that you've done a lot, actually, to bring people's attention to that issue.
That was like a weirdly nice moment in a Fox interview right there. I mean, I know Martha MacCallum's not like Greg Gutfeld or whatever, but still, that was a pretty nice moment. And Mamdani had nice moments of his own. One that I think is getting like a little bit, maybe the most press of all of the moments, was when he decided to directly address Donald Trump. Take a look at that.
You spoke about President Trump, and he may be watching right now, and I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams, who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo, who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who's ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
I almost hesitate to even say this because my predictions are always hot garbage and everything, but like I feel like he's going places, and he's super young, man. He's really good at his age. Top tier, I think, among Democrats nationally, not just like a New York thing. Like, they say like Chuck Schumer should be afraid of AOC. Maybe he shouldn't just be afraid of AOC. I'm just saying. But anyway, I thought that he really made the most of that appearance on Fox. He is a master at staying on message. And as he's staying on message and talking about affordability, talking about prices and everything, constantly hitting Cuomo, also hitting Donald Trump right there. And he's right to do so considering the constant threats that Trump has been making against New York City if Mamdani wins, which Trump has reiterated recently, saying that he's going to cut off federal funding if the people of New York choose a candidate he disagrees with, which is probably a blade that can cut both ways. Maybe Florida has a governor that we disagree with at some point under a Democratic president. Maybe we just screw over the entirety of Florida. Is that a game, MAGA, that you want to play? But anyway, Mamdani did a great job, I think. Yaz, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about in the last story about the bench, right? This is the bench. Maybe this is what it looks like. And maybe people like him and AOC will rebrand what it means to be a politician, or at least what it means to be a representative of, your district. So people, are more encouraged. I don't have to be an old man to be a politician. I don't have to be an old man to be in Congress. I can be a young whatever I am and have a shot at this. And I will say, being a politician, after I tried to encourage people to run for office, it does seem very, very hard. It seems very difficult. It does seem at times to be a thankless job, but you do have to have a lot going on, right? You have to know your policies, you have to be intelligent about it, you have to know what you're selling to the people, you have to be able to speak on so many different topics intelligently, but then you also have to do the public facing side of things, right? You have to be able to go on these talk shows and to speak directly to the things that you're trying to promote while also dodging the things that they're trying to throw at you. And that is no easy task, right? Anybody who can do that, I am always very, very impressed with them. Zohran Mamdani is, yeah, I would say he's maybe even better than AOC at doing that. And he has less experience in the public eye doing, especially doing interviews with that could be contentious potentially, like on Fox News. So very impressive. And yeah, it looks like this mayor race is going to go in his favor, but let's say it doesn't. He does for sure have a future somewhere else. And also there was that time when Kamala Harris didn't want to outwardly endorse Zohran Mamdani because of course she wouldn't. And what she kept saying was, you know what, there's other stuff going on around the country. You know, there's more besides New York City. I know New York thinks that everything's about them, but there's a lot going on. Let's look at like Louisiana or whatever she said. And she's right, you know, like not everything revolves around New York City, but at the same time, like it's very obvious what she was doing. And she doesn't want to align herself with the progressive, but she also doesn't want it to look as though the future of the progressive part of the Democratic Party is progressive, and that the future is people like Zohran Mamdani, and that just the possibility that someone like Zohran Mamdani can win the mayoral race in the biggest city in the country, one of the biggest cities in the world, is very, very scary for the Democrats. And I think for leftists, that should be incredibly encouraging, because now if there's a time to pounce, it's probably now.
Yeah, I'm sure that some of them are scared, and it's always strange that like people showing how the Democrats can become popular and win is scary to the party. It really shows you where their priorities are. So we highlighted Bernie and AOC, now Mamdani. In the aftermath, we're gonna be talking about Graham Plattner. There are some people that are breaking through, and there's a lot of, I think, common threads between them. So anyway, we wanna make sure that we're not just checking the baddies, we're also acknowledging the goodies, even though we also have to acknowledge, and this is one of the reasons perhaps that people like these don't go on a lot of leftist shows. People don't necessarily watch videos like this. Like people get fired up over the bad stuff, the contentious stuff, people being terrible, people being productive. Like we like it and it wins elections. It doesn't necessarily generate a lot of attention online, which is sort of an issue. It's fundamentally an issue of these platforms and the way they work and the way they try to keep us constantly enraged and divided, but it's also something that is true.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.